So the ultimate goal in a hockey game is to win, right? Of course, but what leads to one team beating the other? Well, simply put, one team outplays the other and scores more goals, sure, but if we want to quantify that, how would that go? Where would we even start? Now I can already see some of you scrolling past this or skipping ahead, but bear with me. At this level, we don't have the benefit of working with advanced metrics, working with takeaways or possession quality or zone starts, but maybe we don't need all that. Let's look instead at shots. It's one of the most straightforward stats in the game of hockey. Now, this year, the Colonels are 12-4-3 over 19 games, right? That's a win percentage of about 71%. But let's look just at games in which they took more total shots than their opponent. That includes block shots and misses on top of shots on goal. In those games, they're 9-2-2, a win percentage of almost 77%. Now that's a start. Let's take it even further and look only at games where they put more shots on goal than their opponent. In those games, they're 9-1-1, which is over 86%. Great. But let's face it, this is a really good team. Even in games in which their opponents record more shots on goal, they still have a winning record. They're 3-2-2. So let's take it even further. When you take into account a shot, just any old shot, there are really only 4 things that can happen, generally. It's either on target, it's on goal, and then it turns into either a goal or a save. It may not make it to its target because it's blocked by a defending skater, or it's just off target the whole way, and it goes wide. But when we take a look at the team's total shots, whether or not they're on target, we can find some really interesting trends. I looked at the team's games this year and dove into how often a shot became a shot on goal, and when more than half of the team's shots were on goal, the team had about a 76.5% win rate. Great, but that happens pretty often. It's happened in all but 2 of their games so far. So let's up that to 60% or more. In those 12 games, they had a win rate of 83.3%, or 5-6. That's an easier ratio to digest. That's awesome. That's certainly an improvement over their total win percentage so far on the year, which is, again, about 71%. But I wanted to see if it continued, if we took the next step and raised it to 70+%. Curry has only put at least 70% of their total shots on goal in 7 different games this year. But when they have, they're undefeated. They're 5-0-2, almost an 86% win percentage, and it makes sense why. If we just took those numbers earlier about outshooting your opponent, then with that, it would make sense to just get out as many shots as you could during a game, regardless of where you are on the ice or how many defenders are in front of you. But if we take it to the next level, we see it's not just about taking more shots, it's about taking more quality shots. There are 2 games this year that really drive this point home. The first is the January 24th home game against Wentworth. It's the guys' first game back after the Europe trip, it's the whiteout at the Ice House, and the guys were shooting. A lot. In that game, they registered season highs in total shots with 90 and shots on goal with 62. 62 shots on goal. In no other game this year have they broken 50. It's 16 more than the second highest, which is 46, which they've done in 3 different games. But just once have they broken 50, and that was in this Wentworth game. Anyway, in that game, just under 70% of the team's shots went on goal. Evidently, because that's 62 over 90. The team won that game 6-3, and benefited eventually both from taking a lot of shots, but more importantly, from taking a lot of good shots. Now the other game is a November 8th game at Endicott. In that game we actually took more total shots than the goals, 62-61. It's one of only 6 games this year where the Colonels registered at least 60 total shots. But in the end, the team only scored 1 goal in the contest. Now, this game obviously isn't as easy to talk about. It was a loss. It was early in the year. But in my opinion, it's a great, tangible way to see this effect, that it's not just about how many shots you can get onto the stat sheet, but instead it tracks that when you take good, quality shots, good things happen. It's all fairly logical, right? But it's pretty cool to have something to point to instead of just oh, hey, they've won a bunch of games, because now it's able to help identify why they've won a bunch of games.